Well, hello friends, and welcome to another WSIB Truth Matters with Joe Machado on this Friday, where I separate the truth from bullshit, facts from fiction in plain English. So in my video last week, I did indicate that I was going to be making an important announcement, a big announcement this week, which I did in my video on Tuesday. And I also stated that I was going to discuss some of the proposed changes to workers' compensation legislation in Ontario. And so today, on this Friday, beautiful Friday, that's what I'm going to talk about. All right, my friends, so without any further delay, let's get at it. Well, it's Friday. It's a beautiful Friday. The weather's really nice. I think a lot of you are very happy with that. I am ecstatic. I finally get to play some golf. But before that, I have some very important stuff to share with you. And as always, my salute to my friends at the WSIB. I know they watch my content, and I know they really enjoy it. And I want to keep doing that. My coffee is especially sweet today. It turns out if you put some Baileys in your coffee, oh my goodness, it sets everything in motion for a good day. Okay, so enough of that. So on Tuesday, I announced that legal ProConnect, our new website as well. You'll be able to see it here on the screen. Visit our website. So many changes. I announced that we are now handling cases for not only WSIB and WSIB, but also Canada Pension Disability, long-term disability, human rights, wrongful termination. And we also do that all across Canada, except for Quebec, and within the next couple of weeks, we will have some law firms in Quebec also joining the group. Our preferred legal provider network, which is made up of lawyers and paralegals who are very skilled and experienced and successful in these areas of service that we're providing. So we're very excited about that, and I've been working on it for about a year now. So if you didn't watch the video on Tuesday, by all means, have a look and check out our website. The link is below. The response has been tremendous all across Canada. Turns out injured workers are getting screwed in every other fucking province, just like they are in Ontario. But hopefully we can change that because, you know, we're all brothers and sisters all across this beautiful country. And it is indeed a beautiful country, regardless of what the prick on the other side of the bottle or border says. We are an amazing country. I love Canada. I was born in Portugal, spent my younger years there, came to Canada, then went back to Portugal, and then came back again. And I still go back often, but I love Canada. I really do. My wife is Canadian. My Portuguese descent, and my two beautiful children were born in Canada. Canada has provided our family with immense opportunity. Of course, we all have our downsides and upswings and all that in life. It's just the way it is. But Canada is a beautiful country. It truly is, and I love it. And it's unfortunate that I get to see just how many people across this country are getting screwed over big time. And the most unfortunate part is that the ones who are doing the screwing, the ones that are really, really shafting injured workers the worst, are government organizations, right? Like, these are people that were elected to represent their constituents, right? And this country was built on the backbone of workers from all walks of life. And, you know, bridges were built and buildings and houses. And I mean, the tremendous progress that this country has experienced over the last 125 plus years. Maybe it's a little bit more. My math may be a little bit off, but you know what I mean. All of this has been on the backbone of workers working in construction and mining, shipping and manufacturing and agriculture. All of these vital parts of our lives, all of these vital services and developments that make our lives better. And yet, when they're hurt or they suffer an illness as a result of the work that they were involved with, they get fucked. Right? It's been going on for generations. I've been dealing with the WSIB for over 30 years, probably close to 40 now. And I'm a young man, but I got hurt early. I was 17 when I was hurt. And about 2 years after that, I started fighting these people. And I've been doing it ever since. So yeah, workers and their families have been screwed for decades. It's horrible. It's just fucked. And politicians should be ashamed of themselves. I've often said on this channel that every political party in Ontario, whether it be PCs who are in power now, or the Liberals or NDP, they've all had a chance over the last 30 plus years to make meaningful, positive changes to make this system work for injured workers and their families. But every time they make these changes, they keep fucking them over. And it's no different now with what they're proposing than it was in 1998 when Bill 99 was implemented, and they came in with changes which reduced the workers' benefits from 90% of the net earnings to 85%. And then in 1990, when they introduced Bill 162, where they went from a permanent pension system for life to a NAL and a FEL system. And some of them thought, okay, this is probably good. It wasn't. It was fucked up. Because there's a lot of people who were given a FEL award that was like based on deeming, based on fictitious numbers. And the WSIB looking into their crystal ball, like you've heard me say many, many times. And I could talk forever about how each of those legislations were done to screw over injured workers. But it would require that I sit here for about 24 hours and go through it because it's just too much information. I'm only going to cover the highlights today. But these changes that are being proposed now, the Bill 105, known as the Protecting Ontario's Workers and Economic Resilience Power Act, like fuck it is, right? The only thing it's doing is protecting the fucking jobs of these fuckers who work for the WSIB, who continue to fuck over injured workers and their families. Right from the top down, from the president, all the way the fuck down. Every one of these fuckers, they're only interested in protecting their own livelihoods and their own pensions and their own benefits and their own salaries, which, by the way, are growing by leaps and bounds. Right? They're not looking to protect anybody else except for themselves. Fuck off already. Let's stop pretending. The time for pretending is over. People who are suffering from mental health need help now. Not tomorrow or next week or a fucking year from now. They need it now. And they're getting denied treatment. And their treatment isn't being paid for, as it should be, because it's recommended by their doctors, their psychologists, the psychiatrists, these people who actually know a thing or two about mental health. But they got these fuckers down at the WSIB, case managers, directors, VPs, overruling doctors at will. And in most cases that I've seen personally, they don't even have another fucking doctor on their side, which is something they used to do to at least be able to say, okay, well, we're going to rely on this no matter how we bought this report and how compromised the doctor was to give us what we paid for. Never mind that. They don't even do that anymore. They're so fucking flagrant that they just said, no, we don't think you need any more treatment. We think you're ready to go back to work. Your psych issues are all in your fucking head. Pun intended. Like, give me a fucking break. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of F-bombs throughout this video because I've had it. I've had it with the bullshit. Come on. Let's try. We're not going to paint the lipstick on the fucking pig and try to make it look pretty. It doesn't. But you got a president who's earning $450,000 plus a year. He's also another member of the fucking London police because nobody else could have done that job, right? They said, no, you can't have both of these jobs when he was first hired to be president of the WSIB. So he had to quit the London Police Services Board as he was on the chair, whatever the fuck he was doing there. So he quit that. And then he rejoined again this year. Because there's nobody else in the fucking world who could take this guy's job. He's so fucking brilliant that they can't find another person with a fucking pulse who could do that job and manage the WSIB, where the number of deaths are going up in his tenure in the last 5 years. Oh, you know what? He was able to get 100% of the coverage for mental health treatment for his own workers, WSIB employees. No questions asked. But the workers who are actually supposed to be the beneficiaries from those monies are getting fucked and denied their benefits. Get rid of this fucker. The fuck is he doing there? He's not there to help the injured worker. I think we've all seen that in plain sight. And if you have a problem with me, Jeff Lang, just come straight at me, you motherfucker. Don't dance around in circles. That's what cowards do. And these are my own personal opinions. And I'm entitled to them. And there's no fucking way you guys are going to shut me up. Ever. Because what you're doing is criminal. You haven't been charged. But it is criminal in my books. Because you're fucking people over who deserve help, who need help, who have bona fide claims. And they're struggling. Unable to pay their mortgage. Unable to pay for their rent. Unable to pay for treatment for their kids. Unable to save to help their children go to college or university, to become productive members of society. Unable to take a vacation because they can't stretch the dollar. And you can do 2 fucking jobs. Fuck off. So what are they thinking about doing now? Well, they're thinking about increasing loss of earnings from 85% back to 90% where it was in 1998. So it took them almost 30 years to realize that reducing the already stretched funds that workers get to get it back to where it was? Took almost 30 years. Oh, hang on. No, I get it. I get it. First, you had to work very, very hard from when the time that David Marshall came in to reduce that unfunded liability, remember? Where the government said, don't worry about it. You can take up until 2030. And you did it 12 years ahead of time, right? By denying claims, by denying treatment. You needed to do that. And then you needed to get money back to employers, hand over fist, in the billions, in the fucking billions. So you had to do all of that first. To then realize, well, hang on. Oh, geez, these poor bastards, the ones that were actually the ones that should have benefited from this system. They're the ones that are getting fucked. You know what? We don't want them to keep squawking because there's a lot of squawking going on. Not just me. I'm sure you can hear the loud fucking noises and demonstrations that go on all the time. Right? You know what? Let's give them a little lollipop like you give kids, kids that are saying, oh, mommy, daddy, buy me this. And you give them a lollipop and you shut their mouths, right? Let's do this for workers. Let's do it for them, right? Because they're too stupid to know any better. They're actually going to think we're doing them a favor. So, let's bump it back up to 90%. Fuck off. And you're going to find ways to continue to screw them over, even if this legislation is passed. Yeah. We all know you will. You'll find ways to make sure they never get that money, ever. So as far as the 5% increase that you're pretending is going to be good, I'm sure it will be welcome in a lot of people's books. But I would think that you would have to fix a few other things first. And I'm going to talk about those at the end of this video. But those are the things you really should be talking about. Actually, the next one is something that should have never happened. Right? You're talking about extending eligibility for older workers. Right? To actually pay them LOE benefits if they decide they wanted to work after 65. When you wrote the legislation to limit LOE benefits for workers when they turn 65, to limit to 0, okay? It's not as if you said, well, you have after 55 or 65, if you want to continue to work, we'll at least give you 50% of your money, right? No, they went right down to fucking 0. While many workers continue to work beyond the age 65. And you know what? They shouldn't have to provide you with a reason, whether it's because they need extra money, because they can't afford it, because the cost of living is so fucking high. Or whether they just need something to do for 3, 4, 5 hours a day, or even full time. They shouldn't have to provide a reason. You know that age discrimination is grounds for filing a discrimination complaint with the Human Rights Commission. You know that. But yet you wrote into the fucking law something that is clearly age discrimination. Because what is more different with such a drastic change than a worker who is 64 than a worker who is 65, where a worker who's 64 is entitled to full LOE or LOE benefits. And if that same worker was injured or gets injured at 65, he or she is no longer entitled to LOE benefit. You are shit out of luck, right? Well, it shouldn't have ever been written into law to begin with. But yeah, this is what's going to happen, right? You're saying, okay, you know what? Let's let the stupid suckers work after 65, because they're too stupid to understand that. Hey, You should stop working at 65, right? This is how you think, motherfuckers. But you know what? If they want to work past 65 and they have a claim, let's make it really difficult for them to actually get paid. So let's impose this burden of proof, meaning that they have to really be able to prove that they had intended on working beyond 65. You know how ridiculous that sounds? And then they want to give themselves, the WSIB, the discretion, right, on a case-by-case basis to either allow the claim or deny it, and then you got to go to appeals, and it's complex, and this is supposed to provide equal treatment between someone who just started working legally, 16 or 17 or whatever the case is, and that poor bugger at 65. This is supposed to be equal treatment. Workers who work past 65, a lot of them are very vulnerable. They need the money. And yes, there is a chance they're going to have an injury just like anybody else does. Why treat them any differently? Like you have over the past almost 30 years. When a worker was injured before 1990, that worker was entitled to receive a pension for life. That pension was directly the equivalent of 90% of their net average earnings. So if I took home, I'm going to do some math for you idiots, and I'm not talking to you, my viewers and subscribers, you know that. This is for the fucking idiots who are trying to ring this down your throat, right? Before 1990, 90%, before 1985 was 75%. I'm not going to go back that far, but before 1990, if you were injured on the job and you took home $1,000 net, right, and you became totally disabled, your benefits were 90% of that, which means it was $900. Simple math, easy to figure out. Okay? That pension is paid for, and if you were recognized, if your injury was permanent, like mine, or you had a back injury or an illness, whatever the case may be, you were given a percentage of that impairment. So let's say that, well, the math is easy for me. I had a 22% impairment. So let's assume that I'm making $1,000 take-home pay a week. I would get 90% of that. My pension, 22%, would be 90%, would be 22% of that $900 that I took home a week. For life. Not to age 65, right? None of this Snell bullshit, which is in most cases, and I've seen thousands of them handed out over the last 30 years, since January 1st, 1990. More than 30 years. Tons. I saw tons of them. Right? And the percentages are like tiny, and it's crap. Right? But it doesn't go for life. So, is this system or these proposed changes any better now than they were back then? Or even in 1998 with Bill 99? No. No. Because if when I reach 65, they're not going to reduce my pension. Actually, it's been increased since then. It's at 31% now, and it's probably going to increase again. Because I am going after them again for more. And I'll get it. And they're probably watching this video going, no, Machado, you're not going to get it. I'll fucking get it. Believe me, I will get it. Because that's what I was told every other time that I asked for it. And then things kind of got nasty and I did get it. So we won't do that dance because you know as well as I do, because I will get it eventually, trust me. But this isn't about me, right? This is about doing the right thing. And that is, if someone wants to work past the age 65, they shouldn't be penalized by it. They should be afforded the same benefits and level of service that any other person receives under the age 65. You shouldn't have to make this change to make that happen. Another thing that they're coming up with, or they're proposing, is to expand mandatory coverage to privately operated residential care facilities, group homes, retirement homes, and whatnot. Well, yeah, of course. People working in these environments are subject to getting injured as well. Why shouldn't they have mandatory coverage? I agree with you on that one. But the next one I don't, because it's another scheme, and you know that. And that is to eliminate, right, the final LOE review, the 72-month lock-in review from the law, to eliminate it. Well, if that happens, this is what you're trying to do. So I'm going to put it into plain English, okay? As you hear my introduction, I will separate the truth from bullshit, facts from fiction. Okay, let's look at that, right? Deleting or eliminating that section from the law will give you the authority to continue to harass injured workers or ill workers after the 72-month review whenever you want, for whatever reason you deem appropriate. Because that's what you do, right? You create shit and you go, okay, let's go and investigate this fucker. Kind of like you did with me, right? You remember all those charges, the bullshit that you wrote out? Which, by the way, I haven't forgotten, as you know. It's just another one of those ideas to continue to screw injured workers even more. So, the way the legislation is now, the WSIB gives you an opportunity to review a worker's benefits, income, the situation, medical, treatment, all of that. You do that. You can do that once a year, right? And now you want to change that, because that's not enough time. It's not enough time for you to do that within a period of 6 years after the person has their injury. You want to be able to go beyond that, right? You know what that's like? I'm going to put it in terms that you assholes can understand, meaning those who are trying to rewrite this legislation, okay? I'm going to put it into those terms. It's kind of like you having your ass cheeks, like this, like fully pulled apart, and then have somebody shove a probe right in there, okay? And do that once a year. Of course, you can do it more than that, but to do it at least once a year. You feeling me? You understand what I'm getting at? You want to be able to do this for injured workers for the rest of their lives. That's what you want to do, because 6 years isn't enough. Their condition is somehow miraculously going to fucking improve or get better or heal, which I'm sure that's what they would like. But come on, we know the truth, right? So 6 years, 72 months of complete control over people's lives. You want to remove that so you can continue to create financial uncertainty in their lives. Like, who comes up with this shit? Why is it that you always have to find another way? Just when I think you can't fuck them more, you find a way to do that. Not only that, but I think you're also looking for a way to go back and retrospectively review decisions that were already made. Because, you see, you can never look at what's actually printed in writing on paper because you managed to even fuck that up. People have to look beyond that to see what the actual message is, to see how much damage you have in mind. So, you know what? And for those of you who are watching this video and subscribers, this can't happen. These people cannot have that much power over your lives. And I'm sure that you've heard this from others beyond just me. Because I'm looking at the big picture. And they don't think that you're going to look at the big picture. They think that whatever they do, you don't have any power. You have no fucking way of fighting them. This is the system we're dealing with, my friends. This is it. But if that's not enough, right? They want to take more. They really want to do everything possible to reduce their exposure, which isn't coming out of their pockets, by the way. This is where the fund was set up for. But no, they want to be able to do everything they can to minimize how much they're going to pay. So they want to introduce this collateral benefit cap. And all that means is they want to make sure that any other benefits you receive from any other insurance company, long-term disability plan, an employer wage top-up plan, a private insurance policy that you have, a union policy, all of these that you've paid into, they want to make sure that they can suck that money in, right? And limit whatever your income is to below or at 100% of your pre-injury earnings. But the thing is you're not getting 100% of your pre-injury earnings. You're getting 90%, 85% of the net take-home pay, right? Which is, it's a joke. And even that has a cap, right? I believe the maximum insurable earnings for 2026 is probably around 200 or 115 or maybe thereabouts, 115,000 for the year. So if you earn more than that, you're fucked. You're not getting paid, right? It's just not going to happen. So, you know, if you're a go-getter and you work hard and you work lots of overtime and whatever the case is, and you earn more money than that, if you get hurt at work or get sick, that's the cap, right? So it's not 100%. It's manufactured bullshit is what it is. But they just keep trying to just pull it down, right? So if you look at Canada Pension Disability, for example, right? That's a federal program. You paid into that over the years. It's contributions that you make. It comes off of your pay. So that money is available to you when you retire at 65, right? Well, they finally managed to, which I think is mind-boggling, but they finally managed to get it to the point where if you're receiving loss of earnings benefits, they get to deduct from your loss of earnings benefits what you're receiving from Canada Pension Disability. This is, right? And WSIB is a provincial organization. Canada Pension Disability is a federal program. I don't know how the fuck they managed to get that to happen, but it did, right? They managed to get it to happen. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, what they're trying to do is a long-term disability plan that you might be on, or if you have a union disability plan or a private insurance plan, they want to make sure that they get all of it. And that's why this 72-month lock-in thing, right? This is one of the reasons why they want to take that limitation period of 72 months away. They want to take it away because they want to be able to continue to probe. They want to keep shoving that probe in after the 72 months to see if you are getting any money from anywhere else so they can reduce what they're paying you. This is fucking mind-boggling, but this is what This is what these people do, my friends. This is what they do. And don't think for a minute or a second that they don't have ulterior motives, because they do. But they're not putting any caps on how much WSIB staff can earn, including their president, who's getting about $450,000 a year, plus whatever bonuses. I'm not really sure, but it's pretty high. And they've got 22 vice presidents, each earning over $300,000. I mean, you've seen, if you haven't seen my Beat the Cat, Fat Cats episodes, go check them out, because I provide all of those details. There's no caps on that. There's no proposed caps. They're going to continue to get fat on the fucking bubble. Hopefully they get so fat that the fucking bubble implodes, right? Because that's what they deserve. Because this system, that's not what it was set up for. It's not. But my friends, as I said before, there are things that they should fix, that they should be paying attention to, but they're not, right? They don't care about that. But, before trying to shove this deal down people's throats, I agree with the increase in 5%. I should think that you should actually get 100% of your benefits. Whatever take-home pay you have before you got injured, right? That's what they should pay you. Not 85% nonsense, not 90% of the net, none of that fucking bullshit. 100%, because you work to get paid 100%. Anyway, how about the WSIB start to fix some of these problems? How about to stop deeming, right? Deeming is where they look into their crystal ball. And if you watch my videos, I've referred to that a few times, right? Where they come up with some kind of a job that you should be able to perform, and income that you should be able to earn in that job. And whether that job exists in your community or not, it doesn't really matter. They're going to deem. And basically deeming is they look at what you were earning before your injury, and if you can't go back to your pre-injury job earning that same money, they have to provide some sort of assistance. So they look at, okay, grade 12, not a whole lot of skills, working mostly manufacturing, yada, 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 a high wage earner. You know what? We're gonna train you to become an accountant. And, whether or not you succeed in the program, or whether or not you are able to find a job after you succeed in the program, we think you can earn that. We're going to reduce your loss of earnings benefits by what we think you should earn. That's deeming, right? It's looking into a crystal ball and then moving and living in a fictitious world where reality is non-existent, right? But that's what they do. And so they've been practicing deeming since 1990. They have ruined lives, countless people's lives, forced people to lose their homes, not be able to pay their rent, become homeless. The stories are just staggering. And at one point, my paralegal firm had 10,000 clients. So I've got tons of stories that I could share of the lives that have been ruined by these fuckers. But that's what they do. So, and the deeming process. So why not live in the real world? So stop the deeming, go back and fix what every time that you've deemed that somebody was able to earn more than what they actually could, that somehow they were able to find a job that they wasn't available, that they didn't have the skills to perform, right? Go back and fix that. Pay them what you owe them, because those decisions were made based on fictitious information. Deeming, that's what it is. So go fix that. Before you try to fuck workers more, go fix that, right? The other thing is, why not allow the annual increases to be at par with the cost of living or with inflation? But no, it's never within inflation. It's always below that. That 1% or the 0.5% that they give you, which is a fucking insult, is never at par with inflation. So everybody across this nation understands inflation and that the cost of living goes up, right? But not the WSIB, because they're not going to make up for the inflation. They're just going to give you what they think you need to shut you up. So go fix that as well, right? Which is something you should be doing. And thirdly, which is the most egregious problem that these fuckers engage in, which is just beyond moral and ethical. And that is to overrule your doctors. When you have a psychologist or psychiatrist recommending additional treatment, that the treatment is important, it's critical to your health. And you have case managers and directors and VPs all the way up to the president overruling these fucking doctors, right? Without any opposition whatsoever. This is what's happening, my friends. This is what's happening, right? You have all of these people who have zero skills and training and expertise making decisions about your health. So you know what? Why don't you fix that as well? Stop making decisions about health issues that you don't have the fucking skills to do, that you're not qualified to do. Maybe that would be the right thing to do, rather than come up with this bullshit and these strategies that are hidden. They're hidden in the, oh, we're going to give you another 5%, bring it back up to 90, which is already before. Or doing what should have never happened, which is to treat individuals who are 65 years of age and continue to work the same way that others are treated, right? Those are, they camouflage this with what they're trying to do, really trying to do, which is to get that 72-month review out and to make sure that they can continue or look at any other insurance that you have to minimize how much they're paying you. That's the real story here, my friends. All right, don't get fooled. So anytime or next time that the politicians come knocking at your door for your vote, tell them to fuck off. All right, my friends. That's all I got to say about this content and about these assholes and the bullshit that they continue to put forward to screw over injured workers.
And feel like an uphill battle, but you don't have to do it alone. At Legal ProConnect, we bridge the gap, linking Canadians with experienced lawyers and paralegals nationwide. For deeper insights into your rights, join our community at WSIB Truth Matters, where we expose the truth behind the system. From injury claims to employment rights, get the successful representation that you deserve. Contact Legal ProConnect today. Professional matching, preferred results.